Okay, so we are given a table, and it is basically understood that these are data points that are sitting on a line. So, there's some line out there, and they've given us 5 different points that are on the line in different places. And they could pull off a lot more of points, an infinite number of points from this line to fill up an even bigger table, but they decided to give us 5 data points. And rather than giving it to us in ordered pairs like this one, like 9, -63, or like this one, -1, -13, they just stuck it in a table. And you'll see that quite often. Sometimes instead of the table going up and down, it'll go left to right like this. Your x's will usually be on top, your y's on bottom, and it would be presented to you like this. Okay, so 9, -63 would be a pair, just like they are here. Now, we need to actually get the equation of the line. So step 1, find slope. How do we do that? Well, it's the same thing that you've done before. Y minus y divided by x minus x will get you the slope. You can choose any of the 2 points, but remember, if you choose this 7 for the y, you've got to get its -5 for the x. If you choose this one right here, -43 for the y, you have to choose its 5 for the x. So you can't do this a la carte shopping of like, well, gee, I like these 2x's and I like these 2y's. Well, that's not going to work because this 22 right here is being used, but not its -8. This -1 was being used, but not its -13. So if you choose a value, you've got to come back through and get its others, which means that, we'd be using, well, let's just do this. Let's use -8, 22, and -5, 7. Let's just use those. So 22 minus 7, y minus y, right? And then -8 minus -5. So this would be 15. That'd be -3, and 15 divided by -3. We can replace all of that with -5. Okay, so our slope is -5. The next thing that we need to do, I'm just going to call this step the point slope step because we're going to use that formula to plug in some data to help us find our y-intercept, okay? So y minus y1 equals slope x minus x1. Um, Again, you can use any point that's on here, but if you use a y, you have to use its x. So let's just use this one right here because I like that +7. Y minus 7 equals, what's our slope? Our slope is -5, so that's going to be put right here. And x1, since we use the 7, we've got to use the -5. Please remember what happens when we see a minus negative set up there is that it has to be rewritten, or at least it doesn't have to be, but it's best if you rewrite it as x plus 5. That's the idea of keep, change, change. Now, distribute with multiplication. So -5 times the 1x is -5x. -5 times +5 is -25. And now we can add 7, give us some extra space there for us, to both sides, and we're left with the equation of the line. So there you have it. It takes roughly about, I guess, 3 minutes, 2.5 minutes to go through and do that. Let's go take a look at another scenario here. It says, write an equation for the data set given in the story problem. We're going to assume it's linear, okay, for this linear equation chapter, okay. Real world, you got to prove that it's going to make a straight line, but we're going to assume that if you graph this data here, it would make a straight line. Dan set his car on cruise control and noted his distance on the odometer every 5 minutes. Below is his data, and we need to get an equation for the line that goes through this. Assume that the first column is x and the second column is y. Guess what we're going to do? Find m. So that's step 1. So m is y minus y over x minus x. And I know that when I subtract my y's, I get 4, and when I subtract my x's, I get 5. So my slope is 4/5. Okay? Step 2, same thing we've done. Point, slope. Literally, it's the same thing we did. We found slope, and then we plugged it into point slope. So we're doing this again, even though this data here that we have in this problem looks a little bit different, and it's kind of weird that we've got this scenario here. So don't sweat it. We'll be okay. Y minus y1 equals slope and x minus x1. All right. These y's are about the same, but I like that 5 a little bit more than the 10, so we'll use this point right here to plug in. Y minus 28,490. I'm careful to put my y value into my y1 spot here. The slope is 4/5, so I'll plug that in. And my x is 5. So y minus 28,490 equals 4/5 x with multiplication there. And 4/5 times -5 is -4. The last thing we need to do is just add the 28,490 to both sides. It's a really big number. It seems like there's a mistake, but there's really not. Y would equal 4/5 x plus 28,486. That's the equation of the line that goes through this data right here, these two ordered pairs, those 2 points on the line. So find the slope from the data, plug it into point slope, get the y by itself. That's the basic steps for finding the equation from the data.